The human body is filled with mysteries, but few are as fascinating or as influential as the system we are about to explore together. It is a system that quietly shapes how you breathe, how you digest your food, how your heart responds to stress, and even how your mind interprets the world around you. It works constantly, day and night, yet most people never notice its presence. Today, we will slow down enough to feel it, to understand it, and to learn how to activate it intentionally. This is the vagus nerve, the primary communication pathway between your brain and your internal organs, and one of the most important regulators of calmness, resilience, and physiological balance. The vagus nerve is also known as the 10th cranial nerve, but that clinical description hardly captures its incredible complexity. It begins deep in the brainstem, in an area responsible for basic survival functions, and it travels downward through the neck, branching into pathways that touch the heart, the lungs, the diaphragm, the stomach, the intestines, and even the vocal cords. No other nerve has such an expansive reach. In Latin, the word vagus means wanderer, and when you trace its path through the body, the name suddenly feels perfect. It wanders, it branches, it listens, and it guides. For decades, medical science understood the vagus nerve primarily as a highway for automatic bodily functions. It was seen as part of the background machinery that kept us alive without conscious effort. But modern research has transformed our understanding. We now know that the vagus nerve is not just reacting in the background. It is actively shaping how we handle stress, how quickly we return to baseline after a difficult moment, and how well our organs coordinate to keep the body balanced. Even more powerfully, we now know that the vagus nerve can be influenced. It can be stimulated, strengthened, and trained just like a muscle. And with the right techniques, we can learn to activate it in just a few minutes. To understand how this works, it helps to learn a concept called vagal tone. Vagal tone is a measure of how effectively the vagus nerve communicates with the organs it controls, especially the heart. When vagal tone is high, the body responds to stress and then recovers quickly. Your heart rate slows smoothly after a challenge. Your breathing deepens. Your digestion functions more effectively. Your mind regains clarity. People with high vagal tone tend to think more clearly under pressure and stay emotionally stable even during challenging situations. When vagal tone is low, the story is very different. The body holds on to stress longer. The heart rate remains elevated. Breathing becomes shallow. Digestion slows or becomes irregular. Emotional reactivity increases. People with low vagal tone often describe feeling overwhelmed more easily, recovering more slowly from stress, and having a harder time calming down their minds and their bodies. Fortunately, vagal tone is not fixed. It can be improved with the right practices, and those improvements lead to powerful benefits across physical and emotional health. One of the most important tools that scientists use to understand vagal tone is a measurement called heart rate variability, often shortened to HRV. Heart rate variability refers to the subtle differences in timing between each heartbeat. Even when your heart seems steady, it is always adjusting slightly in response to breathing, emotions, and internal signals. These small changes are a sign of flexibility, resilience, and adaptability in the autonomic nervous system. High HRV is associated with strong vagal function and a flexible stress response. Low HRV indicates that the body is stuck in a more rigid, stressed state. What makes HRV so interesting is that it offers a window into the nervous system that is both precise and practical. It is used by athletes to monitor recovery, by psychologists to track emotional regulation, by clinicians to measure chronic stress, and by neuroscientists to understand how the brain communicates with the heart. When HRV rises, it is often a sign that the vagus nerve is active. When HRV drops, it is a sign that the body is shifting into stress physiology. The good news is that HRV can be increased through specific breathing patterns, vocal vibrations, changes in posture, and relaxation techniques that directly stimulate the vagus nerve. To appreciate how these techniques work, we need to look at the structure of the vagus nerve more closely. Even though we call it a single nerve, It actually contains two major pathways that function in very different ways. The first is the dorsal vagal pathway, an ancient survival system that slows the body dramatically in moments of overwhelming stress. When this pathway activates strongly, people may feel numb, disconnected, or frozen. Breathing becomes shallow, digestion slows, and the body attempts to conserve energy. It is a protective reflex, but when activated too often, it can create a persistent sense of shutdown. The second pathway is the ventral vagal pathway, a more evolved system that supports calmness, connection, clear thinking, and emotional regulation. When the ventral vagus is active, your breath feels natural and steady. Your heart rate becomes stable. You feel present, aware, and grounded. This is the state the body prefers. It is the state where healing, digestion, learning, and recovery happen. The goal of vagus nerve activation is not to suppress the dorsal pathway, which is important for survival, but to strengthen the ventral pathway so the body can return to balance quickly after stress. One of the most fascinating discoveries in modern neuroscience is that the vagus nerve communicates far more information from the body to the brain than from the brain to the body. Nearly 80% of its fibers send messages upward, informing the brain about internal states, breathing patterns, muscle tension, vocal vibrations, and pressure changes in the chest and abdomen. In other words, the brain is constantly listening to the signals coming from your body. When those signals indicate safety, the brain shifts into calm states. When they indicate stress, the brain amplifies alertness. This is why techniques like slow breathing, humming, deep exhalation, swallowing reflexes, and diaphragm activation can have such a powerful effect on your mental and emotional state. These actions stimulate sensory pathways that travel up the vagus nerve, sending a message to the brain that the body is safe. When the brain receives enough of these signals, it allows the parasympathetic system to activate more strongly. Heart rate slows, blood pressure decreases, muscles relax, digestive activity increases, stress hormones begin to lower. These are measurable, physiological responses, not mental tricks or imagined sensations. They are grounded in biology. Now that we understand the science, we can explore how to intentionally activate the vagus nerve. The protocol we will discuss is simple, accessible, and supported by research in breathing physiology, vocal resonance, and autonomic regulation. It takes only 4 minutes and can be done almost anywhere. It combines a specific posture that engages the diaphragm, a breathing pattern that boosts heart rate variability, a vocal vibration that stimulates the vagus nerve through the vocal cords, and a swallow reflex that activates motor pathways in the brainstem. Each component amplifies the others. Begin by finding a chair and sitting near the edge. Place your feet flat on the ground, slightly wider than shoulder width. Lean forward and rest your elbows gently on your knees. Allow your head to tip slightly downward. This posture may feel simple, but it does something important. By bringing your head below the level of your heart, you engage pressure sensors inside the arteries that trigger the parasympathetic response. At the same time, leaning forward compresses the abdomen slightly, encouraging deeper engagement of the diaphragm. The diaphragm is one of the key muscles connected to the vagus nerve, and any movement that strengthens its involvement can have a calming effect. Once you settle into this position, gently exhale until your lungs feel empty. This creates space for a deep, diaphragmatic breath. Then inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, filling your abdomen rather than your chest. Allow your belly to expand and press lightly against your thighs. This abdominal expansion signals the diaphragm to descend fully, and the vagus nerve responds strongly to this movement. After inhaling, hold your breath comfortably for a count of 7. During this hold, perform a gentle swallow. The swallowing reflex activates muscles in the throat that connect directly to nuclei involved in vagal control. After the hold, exhale through your mouth for a count of 8 while producing a soft humming sound. The hum adds vibration to the vocal cords, another powerful form of vagal stimulation. The entire cycle takes roughly 19 seconds. Repeat this cycle several times, maintaining the forward-leaning posture. You may begin to feel warmth spreading through your chest or throat. Your fingers may tingle slightly. Your shoulders may release tension on their own. These sensations are normal and indicate that your parasympathetic system is engaging more fully. As the vagus nerve becomes active, your heart rate should slow, and your breathing should feel easier and more natural. With practice, this technique can help your body return to a calmer state more quickly after stress. Of all the elements in this protocol, the humming exhale is one of the most powerful. Research has shown that humming increases the production of nitric oxide in the sinuses, improves airflow in the nasal passages, and creates vibration that stimulates sensory branches of the vagus nerve. This is one reason why singing, chanting, and even quiet humming often feel soothing. They activate a biological pathway designed to signal safety. The nervous system interprets these vibrations as cues that the environment is calm, and the body begins to shift into parasympathetic mode. The swallowing reflex is another subtle but significant component. During moments of high stress, the body often suppresses swallowing because the muscles of the throat become tense. By intentionally swallowing during a controlled breathing cycle, you activate muscles innervated by branches of the vagus nerve. This creates a burst of sensory feedback that the brain recognizes as a calming signal. Over time, this response can help retrain the nervous system to respond more efficiently to stress. The posture used in this protocol also serves an important purpose. By leaning forward with elbows on knees, the diaphragm is encouraged to move through a fuller range of motion during each breath. The diaphragm is one of the only skeletal muscles directly connected to the vagus nerve, and it plays a significant role in regulating heart rate. When the diaphragm moves deeply, it enhances a natural phenomenon called respiratory sinus arrhythmia, which is the rise and fall of heart rate that occurs with each breath. Stronger respiratory sinus arrhythmia is closely associated with higher heart rate variability and better vagal tone. When all these components come together, they create a synergistic effect. The posture activates pressure receptors. The deep inhalation engages the diaphragm. The swallow stimulates sensory pathways in the throat. The humming vibration enhances vagal activity in the vocal cords. The slow exhalation increases parasympathetic influence over the heart. Each element supports the others, and together they form a powerful tool for regulating the nervous system. You may be wondering how often to practice this. A consistent daily practice is more effective than occasional use. Many people notice changes within a week or two. A steady morning practice helps set a calm baseline for the day, while an evening practice can ease the transition into rest. You can also use the technique before important conversations, presentations, moments of emotional difficulty, or any situation where you want to steady your mind and regulate your physiological response. The benefits of vagus nerve activation extend beyond stress reduction. Research has linked strong vagal function to improved digestion, reduced inflammation, better glucose regulation, enhanced immune response, and improved emotional resilience. This is because the vagus nerve influences nearly every major organ system. When the vagus nerve sends stronger signals, the heart beats more efficiently, the lungs move air more effectively, and the gut performs digestion with greater coordination. These improvements support overall health and create a more adaptable internal environment. Emotional health also benefits greatly from a well-regulated vagus nerve. Many psychological challenges, including anxiety and emotional reactivity, are closely tied to autonomic dysregulation. When the body remains in a heightened state for extended periods, the mind interprets sensations as signs of danger. Strengthening vagal tone helps the nervous system return to balance more quickly, which in turn reduces the emotional impact of stress. It becomes easier to think clearly, communicate calmly, and maintain perspective during difficult moments. As you continue this practice, you may become more aware of the subtle ways your body responds to stress and calm. You may notice how your breath changes in tense situations. You may feel your heart accelerate more quickly during moments of pressure. You may observe how your digestion responds to emotional states. This awareness is an essential part of nervous system regulation. When you can sense the shift into stress physiology, you can intervene early, using the techniques you have learned to guide your body back toward balance. This is one of the great strengths of vagus nerve training. It does not require equipment. It does not require medication. It does not require complex routines. It requires only your attention, your breath, and a few simple movements. Over time, these practices can reshape the way your nervous system responds to the world. Instead of getting stuck in cycles of stress, your body becomes better at recovering. Instead of reacting automatically, you gain more space to respond thoughtfully. In a world filled with constant stimulation, learning to activate the vagus nerve is like learning to step into a quiet room inside yourself. It is a place of steadiness, a place of clarity, a place where the body and mind work together instead of pulling in different directions. This calm does not remove challenges from your life, but it changes the way you move through them. It gives you access to the version of yourself that thinks clearly, breathes steadily, and chooses wisely. As you reach the end of this exploration, remember that the vagus nerve is not a mystical system. It is a biological network, deeply studied and well understood. Its effects are measurable, its responses are predictable, and its pathways are available to anyone who learns how to activate them. You are not creating calm from imagination. You are engaging a system that is built into your physiology, waiting to be used. Take a moment now and breathe. Feel the weight of your body. Notice the gentle expansion of your abdomen. Sense the quiet rhythm of your heart. These sensations are not random. They are guided by a system that has been regulating your body since the moment you were born. When you learn how to work with this system, you unlock a level of balance that is both deeply scientific and profoundly human. And now, as you step back into your day, carry this knowledge with you. Your nervous system is not fixed. It can be trained, it can be strengthened, it can be healed. The vagus nerve is your pathway to that healing. With consistent practice, patience, and awareness, you can support your body in returning to its natural state of calm and clarity. And in that state, you are able to live, breathe, and decide with a steadier, healthier mind.